And welcome into the Dynasty 365 podcast, the Dynasty podcast for the fantasyandframes.com podcast network. And we are just one of many podcasts that will be recording tonight, as well as being live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Next up, we have Fourth and Frames, and then we do the Daily Fix. And to round it out, Shoot the Gap, our IDP show. So I am Tyler Heil. This week, I do not have my co-host Jorge Edwards here. Instead, we have the UK crew of fantasyandframes.com of Jonathan Klonowski and Bill Mustafa. So Jonathan, how you doing, man? It's good to have you.
Yeah, not too bad. It's great to be on. Nice British takeover this week. I like it.
Absolutely. We're going back to the 1700s here. Bill, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I've had my espresso. I'm ready.
There you go. I'm sure you guys are all hyped up on espresso. I was telling Jonathan, I don't know how you do it. If I'm not asleep by 11, I'll be dead. But if you guys can sleep in, more power to you, man.
We're like a quarter of the season in. I've been staying up till 4 a.m. for 6-7 weeks now. So I'm well into it.
I was saying, like in the UK, if you're an NFL fan, you kind of just built for it by this stage. You're used to it. This is NFL time of the day.
There you go. That's crazy because when we're talking Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football and Thursday Night Football, I'm an East Coaster, so I'm like, yeah, maybe halftime and I'll go to bed. Whereas you guys are just staying up until 4 a.m. because you have to and you want to watch the games live.
Yeah, it's a commitment. Yeah, I mean, I know that
obviously
I'm a Packers fan and they're playing the Bills. I think it's next Sunday night. I'm like, do I really want to stay up that late to watch the Packers get absolutely destroyed by Josh Allen? Maybe I might just watch that on Monday morning.
Oh, yeah, maybe just watch the low lights on Monday morning.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe Josh Allen falls on his face and the Packers take that one. What do you think, Bill?
I don't think that's likely. 17's MVP this year, where he's taken us to the bowl, and the Packers are going to be one of the teams we brush aside, I think.
Man, what it must be like to be that confident in your team. That must feel really good.
Listen, it's about time. I've seen some stuff, man.
Yes, you have. You definitely have. I guess Jonathan's really the only one who hasn't suffered as much as us, being Bills and Browns fans.
That's it. It's your turn now. All right.
It is. Yeah, I suppose the disappointment every draft weekend doesn't quite compare to the disappointment Bills fans feel actually during the season.
Exactly.
Oh man. All right. So what we're gonna do is we titled it "Break in Case of Emergency Injury Edition." So we're going to go through, we didn't try to make this a running back centric pod, but when we're talking injuries and we're talking middle of the season replacements, that's just kind of where the conversation goes. It's difficult to find mid-season wide receivers that are producing at running back 10 levels or wide receiver 10 levels that you can just go by for maybe a second. So while we did not try to make it running back centric, it is going to be running back centric. So to name a few of the running backs who have either dealt with injury already this season, are out for the season, or are dealing with injury, we have Jonathan Taylor, who's missed a couple of games. We have DeAndre Swift, who's missed several games. He is expected to be back this week, but I haven't heard anything firm about that. Have you guys?
I think
he's questionable, I think. I think even if he plays, it's going to be a limited basis. So he might be a guy you're looking to start in week 8, maybe not week 7.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, it's not as if he's been efficient, kind of when he was fully healthy. So
that's true. He was getting all of his touchdowns stolen by someone we might be talking about later in this pod. Next, we have Javonte Williams, tore his ACL, out for the year. That depressed a lot of people. I was not one of them because I didn't manage to get any Javonte Williams anywhere somehow. Are you guys? Yeah. Do you guys have a lot of stock in him?
No, I'm the same. I've not got one share in him, so not too bothered about
Yeah, if you could tell from my face, if you're watching, then a few of my teams have been destroyed by him and Trey Lance. Yeah, Javonte is one that I'm quite worried about. From what I've seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds as though it's a fairly similar injury to J.K. Dobbins. And obviously, we've seen Dobbins kind of, he was injured before the start of last season and is still kind of struggling to get back to full fitness. Hasn't got a full workload. I think we know that the running back class is supposed to be good next year, so I think they're going to bring in competition. So that's one that I'm probably more worried about than any others that you've got on this list.
Yeah, when both of your running back fill-ins are nearing my age and I have 2 kids, then you probably have a little bit of an issue. The next injured guys, Elijah Mitchell, who's been out for over a month already. Still no real return in sight. It seems like it's going to be another month at least. Damian Harris that whole situation's weird, but it seems like he's going to be out a few more weeks. Rashad Penny is out for the year. Cordero Patterson was placed on IR in kind of mysterious circumstances. He was playing, and then he wasn't playing, and then he played a little bit more, and then right after the game, he was on IR. So it's weird. Who knows how long he's going to be out. So those are kind of the focuses of this injury-related pod with the guys you are trying to cover for. So it can be easy to say, go buy an expiring asset. Go get a Dalvin Cook, who's 27 years old and whose contract says he can be cut next year. Go get Derrick Henry, who's going to be 30 very soon. Go get Aaron Jones, who's 27 years old and same as Dalvin Cook, his contract says he can be cut next year. Those are easy ones to say, yeah, go get that guy and he'll help you out. So what we're trying to do is identify some players that you can go out and acquire for relatively cheap. There's some guys on this list that aren't going to be just given away, but not only will they help you for this year, but also maintain some value and help you into 2023 and maybe even 2024. So I kind of want to let's jump right into it. Jonathan, do you have one for us that kind of fits that mold?
So I think the most obvious one for me is the one that you've highlighted first, which is Josh Jacobs. I wasn't too confident around Josh Jacobs coming into this year. Didn't really know what that offense would look like, how they would split the backfield. But he's been fantastic to start the season. I was looking at some stats from Football Outsiders, and he is, I think he's second in success rate. He's, I think he's third in their yards above replacement. So he's been fantastic. He's clearly playing for next year, for that next contract. And I think the thing that we've kind of got to think about as well with this, if we're thinking sort of longer term beyond this year, is how good that running back class is next year. So a lot of those running back rooms that we feel as though, they might, somewhere like Atlanta, they'll probably take one of the good running backs next season. The same, maybe even someone like the Texans might take someone. So I think you're going to see, kind of similar to the 2020 draft, a huge influx of good young running backs coming in. So I think what we're trying to find here is someone that is going to get a big enough contract to maybe stop the team investing so highly in the draft. I think Josh Jacobs for me is probably the most likely of these players, because I think if the Raiders don't get him, and if he actually makes it to free agency, I think he will demand a pretty big contract if he can continue on from this year. And if you look at keep trade cuts, I mean, he's still at something like RB 15-ish. I think he was kind of around a late first. Mm-hmm. If I'm contending, I'm easily paying a late first for that, considering how well he's been playing.
Absolutely. I love that one. And he's only 24 years old.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
He's got a contract in front of him, like you said. and he is a little bit higher on the career touches mark. He'll surpass 1,000 touches this season, obviously, if he stays healthy. But that's prime real estate right for a second contract. So I'm right there with you. Bill, who do you have for us? What's a good player to follow up Josh Jacobs with?
I've got a guy that I've seen a lot of people, a lot of analysts say he's a sell at the moment. But I think if you're looking for a guy that can help you get out of some injury trouble this season and has some value for next season and beyond, I like AJ Dillon in Green Bay. Now I know that his touches a couple of weeks ago, he's 38 or 39% of the offensive snaps he was on the field for, which is worrying. It was closer to 50% last week. And the Packers aren't winning football games. They're not looking good. How long is it going to take for them to go, look, do you know what? Let's just go back to what worked last season. Let's just give Dillon the short yardage stuff. Let's put him back on the field when it comes to goal line stuff. And let's try and get him and Aaron Jones working in tandem again. Aaron Rodgers already said we want to simplify that offense, although Matt LaFleur, didn't really have a clue what he was going on about, apparently. But you can't get more simple than AJ Dillon up the middle.
No,
I think he's a guy that people are going to be down on, and don't expect to plug him into your lineup and expect 15 plus points. But if you're looking for a guy to come in and fill in for a Cordero Patterson or a Jonathan Taylor, and you're hoping for 10 to 12 points with the prospect of upside later on in the season, or if Aaron Jones goes down, big upside with value for the upcoming seasons, I like AJ Dillon. I think he can be got for second round pick kind of value, and I'm taking a chance on him all day long if I need a running back.
Yeah, his value is absolutely plummeted. I really liked him coming into this season, but I mean, as you said, the Packers offense just looks broken. And I mean, I remember saying this at the start of the season with you guys that they are the two best offensive players for the Packers. Obviously, outside the quarterback, they're the two best skill position players. It's maddening that they don't utilize them more, and we've seen AJ Dillon actually get some work in the passing game over the past couple of years. So they should be using him more. He hasn't played that well recently, but as you guys have said, there's a good chance that Aaron Jones is out next season, given his contract. I think they can cut him and save quite a lot of money. And with Rodgers' contract, they might need to and look to spend those resources elsewhere. So I'm right there with you there. Especially if you're a rebuilding team as well. I think that's a very good investment.
Absolutely. So I want to get a Packers fan's opinion on this. Jumping away from the running back position for a bit, would a good buy, maybe a buy low even, depending on the value, be Romeo Doubs? Do you think he has a bright future in Green Bay, or is he just a fill-in wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3?
I think I'm not sure he'll ever get to wide receiver 1 status. I think he's a very, very good player, and obviously, he's a 4th round pick, and he's come in and immediately had some success. So obviously, he's probably better than that 4th round. But I would imagine, kind of long term, they will invest in that position, whether it's through trades, free agency, the draft. I don't think it'll. Well, yeah, we'll see. We could have probably had this conversation 2 years ago, saying, yeah, they'll do something. They'll do something. But I think it's so obvious that they need to do something. But for this year, yeah, definitely. I think Lazard is kind of the guy that you can probably rely on week in, week out. Mm-hmm. But Dobbs he's been very good the first couple of weeks. Christian Watson's been dealing with an injury, so there's talk of him going on IR. Sammy Watkins is always injured, so I think if you can get him for a mid-second, something like that, then I'd pull that trigger, because he's going to be a good flex play for you most weeks.
There you go. I like it. I'm going to throw one out there, another running back buy that I have actually gone out and acquired myself in multiple leagues, because I think the price the value of the player exceeds the price, and it's going to remain to be so, even if it never quite touches a first round pick level. And I'm talking about Tony Pollard. He is back end RB2 right now. They have a complete, not a complete even split. They have a consistent split between Zeke and Tony Pollard. Zeke's right at about 60-ish% of the snaps. Tony Pollard's right at about 45-ish% of the snaps. Obviously, that adds up to over 100, but they're on the field together sometimes. He's like the back end running back too. He's the guy that you can plug into your lineup and get 10 points. And 10 points from a running back, if it's your flex or if it's your RB2, is really valuable. Pollard is 25 years old. He's going to get paid this offseason. He's not going to be the Josh Jacobs guy. He's not going to go get a $10 million contract. He's going to get something more like a Kareem Hunt contract from a couple years ago. That was about $6.25 million a year to be the high end number 2 running back somewhere. Maybe it'll be back in Dallas. I don't think that's totally out of the question at all. But in 2021, Pollard had 9.1 points per game in half PPR. In 2022, Pollard's at 9.5 points per game, half PPR. Like that's his average. I mean, average can be a little misleading, but that's right around in his median too. He is the perfect guy to put as a RB2 fill-in or a flex spot each week. He's still below 500 career touches. So he has a full 4-year contract waiting for him that he will probably play out. And I just acquired him in a league for a 23 second and a 23 third. And I feel like that value is about right because he's not worth a first. Would you guys have paid that price to acquire Pollard?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. For me, it's not even what he's going to do for me this season. Like if I can plug him in and get 9, 10, 11, 12 points, I'm happy with that. But I'm looking more at that second contract. You know, if he ends up in San Francisco, let's say, you're looking at a guy that everyone was all of a sudden really excited about having in their lineup. And, you know, even if you want to cash out, then you're probably looking at a first round pick if he gets a decent deal to go to a team like the Niners or a team like the Bills or a team like the Chiefs. Because he's that kind of weapon. You know, there's a guy that can run the ball effectively. He's a guy that can catch the ball at the backfield, can line up in the slot. He can do a lot. He can be an offensive weapon on a good offense. I think second and third is a real good price to pay for Tony Pollard.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen that he doesn't need 20 touches a game to be to produce for you. He can, you know, we've seen this year that he's been much more efficient than Zeke, you know, on fewer touches. So it's not, you know, he doesn't need that workhorse role.
No, half the time he's going to break a 40-yard run. And for, you know, if you have a league, I have a couple leagues where you get bonus points for 40+ yard runs. And I look at my league the next day, I'm like, how in the hell did Tony Pollard get 17 points with 86 yards rushing? But those bonuses, man, I don't love them, but they're nice when you get them.
When you get them, yeah.
Jonathan, do you have another one for us?
Yeah, okay. So tell me if I'm a bit mad with this one. But
Yes,
I was looking at Antonio Gibson's value on Keep Trade Cut, and obviously Keep Trade Cut has its flaws, but it's around, so it's next to a late 2024 second, just below Isaiah Pacheco, just above Jamal Williams and Eno Benjamin, and it's kind of like, I'm not sure if I could actually acquire him for that. Maybe I think it would probably be a little bit more. But people will be really out on Antonio Gibson, and we've seen how good he can be when he's given the workload, when he's given the opportunities. And for me, for that price, he's someone that I think he's still going to get work. I know it's not the best offense. I know he's going to share touches with Brian Robinson and McKissick. But we've seen him used more in the passing game than previously. And, you know, we had Rivera coming out and saying that they maybe needed to give some more touches to Gibson. And I think for that price, I think he's going to be a good flex play for you this year. And we know that he has the talent. So who knows what the possibilities are of, you know, potential moves in the future.
Yeah, I really don't understand what's going on in Washington. Like,
No.
you can't convince me that Brian Robinson is better than Antonio Gibson. You can't do it. That's not factual. Just because Brian Robinson looks like he should be a good running back doesn't mean he is a good running back. Like Antonio Gibson is the better back. He's built for the modern day NFL. He's built to be a modern day running back. And just because Ron Rivera can't see it, who is a god awful coach, by the way, never has been good. He needed like a MVP Cam Newton to be relevant for a year or two. He's awful. It doesn't make any sense. Please, someone go and get him out of there and show Washington what they're wasting. Like, Antonio Gibson can be a stud, and they're plodding along with a fourth round rookie running back with 2 holes in his legs. Not for me.
Yeah, so I mean, as you said, obviously you're betting on talent here. The situation isn't good, I'll admit that, but that bet on talent is one that I'm willing to make for possibly a second round pick.
The second round pick scares me a little bit just because of the situation. I mean, he still has another year on his contract in Washington. That doesn't mean he's going to be there. Maybe someone will go get him, but they value him so little. Like you said, Bill, it's absolutely just mind-boggling with what they're doing with him. They're having him return kicks. They prefer to pass the ball to J.D. McKissick. They're having him just run it right up the center's butt every play. And he has by far his worst yards per attempt of his career so far this year. He's just gotten worse because the offense has gotten worse as he's been in Washington. So, yes, someone please go save him.
Please.
Bill, what do you got for us? Let's try to get one, maybe 2 more in here, and then we're gonna get out of here.
Okay, I got a guy that was, a couple of weeks ago, he was hot. Everyone was trying to get him a couple of weeks ago. That's slowed down a little bit now, but I still have faith in Khalil Herbert moving forward. I think there's going to be a little bit of a timeshare there with David Montgomery. Montgomery's going to be out. I expect is going to be out of Chicago next year. This is a team that's got so many holes in their roster. They're not sure about their quarterback. It sounds like they obviously don't trust him. The offensive line is awful. The defense needs work. They need weapons on the outside. Are they really going to go and spend draft capital on a running back when they've got a guy in-house that we've seen, when given the opportunities, can make it work and can look like an NFL running back? They've got Khalil Herbert under contract. He's proven that he can be an NFL starting running back. I think Montgomery's out of there at the end of the year. We could see Khalil Herbert as the lead back next year. So you might pick him up this year thinking he's going to split the backfield. One game, he might pick me up 7-8 points, might get a touchdown upside and pick up, 12 to 15 points one week. But with a plan being that next season, he's the starting running back in Chicago. And if you want to flip for that extended value, then do so. Or if you want to plug and play him in your lineup, do so. Yes.
And it seems like it's a foregone conclusion that he is going to be the starting running back in Chicago next year. Do they improve the offensive line? Do they have a new quarterback? Do they actually have professional level pass catchers? I don't know. I mean, that would be real neat to see, but we will find out. The only problem I have with that is, what can you buy him for? Because I've had people try to acquire Khalil Herbert from me because he was one of my guys coming out of Virginia Tech. I was getting him in the back of every second round, beginning of every third round rookie drafts that I possibly could. And people have been trying to get him, and they're offering like 24 seconds, which isn't an unreasonable price. It's like, I don't want to do it. Like it's so easy to see.
I flipped him after that big game he had when Montgomery got hurt. I flipped him the day after that game for a late 23 first, and I felt great about it.
Okay.
But I was stoked about it. But I would sell for a 23 second.
Okay.
Just because although we all, I think he's going to be the lead runner in Chicago next year. You think he is, and I'm sure Jonathan does as well. Yeah. Like, that seems to be what is expected, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. We've seen teams do silly things all the time. The Chicago Bears might say, I know we need a lineman, but we didn't expect Bijan Robinson to be here in the second round, so we're just going to take him top of the second round and see you later, Khalil Herbert. Like, you just don't know. And if I can get that value of that 23 second round pick, as long as I'm not in desperate need for a running back, I'll probably take it.
Yeah. I think a mid-second is a reasonable thing to offer, and as you said, Bill, the upside there is is great. I mean, obviously, you are buying into the Bears offense. You're just saying that we are kind of betting on the Bears organization making some sensible decisions, which maybe isn't the best thing to do. But sorry, I had to get a dig in somewhere. But yeah, no, I love this one. It was the other name that I had on my list.
There you go. Yeah, that might just be me. It's called the endowment effect, where you overvalue what you have.
Yeah,
and it's probably a little bit of my own bias there. But all right, guys. Well, we are at the 26-minute mark. So we are going to get out of here because we have Fourth and Frame starting immediately after this. That is our season-long podcast, our redraft podcast, if you will. Following that, we have Joe Matz and Keith Fleming with the Daily Fix. If you are into DFS at all, even if you're not into DFS, go check out what they're doing. Those guys are on a heater right now with some of their picks. So even if you just want to throw a few bucks on a lineup maybe and take some of their picks, they're absolutely free. Go and capitalize on that. And we round out the evening at 10 o'clock with Shoot the Gap, our IDP podcast. So everyone, please stick around. Stick around on YouTube. Stick around on Twitter. Stick around on Facebook. Jonathan, Bill, thank you so much for joining me. I hope we get to do this more often. And I hope you guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Cheers.